We've reached a situation in Britain where every week one farmer takes their own life, and there are tractors outside Parliament protesting because for many people, no matter how hard they work, they just can't make their farms even cover their own costs. And at the same time, there are millions of people in this country living in food poverty. 12% of all children come from households that can't even afford the basics that they need to survive. And the government has changed the subsidies that farmers receive, so they no longer get paid to produce food for people, but do get paid to feed wild birds. The countryside seems broken. Who is this actually working for? And Jeremy Clarkson has just bought a farm. How has this all come to happen? I'm a 6th generation farmer. My great-great-grandfather was a tenant at Berkswell in Warwickshire, and his son was an agricultural contractor during the Second World War. This was a job that crippled him, but with the money that he made, the family were able to buy their own farm, and my grandfather came to this one in 1968. Until 2018, this was a small dairy farm, milking about 120 cows. Since then, it's just arable and we grow crops for other people, which I find much less interesting. But in that time, I've been able to do my A-levels and work for lots of other farmers in the area and go to university where I studied history, lived in a city for a little while and got involved with lots of environmental projects. I learned during this time that there is a great deal of interest in the countryside at the minute, but no good accessible resources that allow people to learn about the things that happen here. So that's what we're going to make. And we'll be asking lots of questions like, what the hell is this? What's going on here? And how are they related to this? Why is it that scientists keep going on the news to say that cows are really bad for CO2 emissions when everybody knows that cows emit methane? And does that make a difference? And we'll do this through a series of short single-issue videos that build upon each other. The idea being that anybody at all could start at the start and by the end drive past any field in the country and know exactly what's going on inside it. There's a bee. We'll look at the practice of agriculture and I'll show you what happens, and we'll look at its history, how it's developed and come to shape the landscape that we see today. And we'll look at its science, how it works, with particular reference to climate science. And lastly, we'll look at the politics of the countryside and the philosophies that govern it, which is often overlooked. And we'll look at all of the new ideas that seem to break from historical precedent, like vertical farms and rewilding and agroforestry and veganism, and we'll assess them all based on their merits. And I'll always be very careful to cite my sources. But as we look at all of the big picture stuff, it will all be done from this little farm in Leicestershire, which is this part of England. The farm is about 120 acres or 60 football pitches, which might sound like a lot, but in agricultural terms it's really small. And really it has yet to rise from the ashes since we gave up milking, so I have got some plans, but any suggestions are welcome. What should we do with this land? And Leicestershire is a really good place to look at agriculture because it's a melting pot of all the important stuff. The county symbol is the fox, which represents the aristocratic influence through their fox hunting. And before the Second World War, the county was famous as a grassland area, so there was hardly any ploughing at all, whereas after the Second World War, most of it was ploughed up and it became a wheat belt. So as agriculture has waxed and waned over the centuries, nowhere has change been more apparent than right here in Leicestershire. So I do hope you'll join me and come along for the ride. The beauty of this stuff is that it is inherently local, so I'll show you what happens here, but hopefully people all over the country and indeed all over the world will be able to share what happens where they live. Thoughts, comments and questions are always welcome too. Let's get on with it.